to talk about?
All right. Welcome. We're here live at Youngju University. We're joined here today with Mr. Curtis Smith. Thank you very much, sir.
Sure.
For joining us.
Happy to help.
All right. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your general experiences as a drummer.
Well, my name is Curtis Smith. I got my first drum when I was 11 years old. It took me a year to convince my mother to buy me a drum. She got me my first drum, and from then on, it was just the steps I took to arrive at a point where I'm at now. 54 years old, where I still do this. It still matters to me. It's still important to me, of course. And I see older drummers that motivated me now in their 60s, 70s, and they're still strong, they're still powerful, they're still important. So it gives me a little bit of the motivation to keep going.
Right. That is pretty awesome watching some of those guys play. Do you have any influences in particular that you'd like to tell us about?
When I was a very young guy, really young, the first guy, of course, was Ringo. I was at my grandmother's home, and I was 4 or 5 years old.
That young.
And I remember on her TV were these images, and what now is very famously the Hey Jude recording. And I remember the drummer, the guy banging away at those, and that mattered to me. And then as I got older, through the 70s and 80s, the FM radio music, everything from Kansas, Phil A. Hart, from Kansas, Neil Peart, Rush. Then the maturity became further as I got into, Stuart Copeland, Steve Gadd, Bernard Purdy, from the Steely Dan stuff. There's shuffles that you needed to learn, all that really important stuff through the 70s and 80s. And then when I was in university, a friend came into the dorm with a CD, Frank Zappa, Shut Up and Play Your Guitar.
Right.
And he pushed that first entry, 555, and it blew me away. I was a bit outraged, really. What is this? What is this? And that sent me on, that was circa 1989. It sent me on a long distance journey to figure out, Vinny and Steve Smith and all that high-end drumming that I would want to say influences my own voice.
Right. Okay. Great. I'm gonna have to look into some of those drummers you're talking about. How would you define a groove?
A groove would be, of course, I think, the pulse of your heart or the stride of your step. We have a natural step or stride or pace as we walk down the road, and seemingly that works into a lot of maybe perhaps grooves that play out musically. And so in 4/4 rhythm or 3/4 or whatever, bottom line, where the downbeat is, where that pop is what I would suppose is the pulse, or the groove that your dancer, your singer, your piano player wants to anchor themselves to going forward in the musical context of the conversation we're having.
Right. That's very good. In terms of rhythm and time, do you believe that people are born with it, or can you practice it?
I think there are those who are born with it. I don't know that I was. I certainly was motivated. So the motivation was the daily sitting down and going through the rudiments or the basic ABCs of my instrument that I define myself with. I would say that I've heard a lot of great guitarists and saxophone players and piano players. You hear them all, and there's always that balance of what you're born with, and in the end, really what you work towards. Because it's work. It's work that where you arrive. Where now it's fun. It's fun to sit at this instrument and make my contribution, metaphorically speaking, and in the conversation. I did the work to be able to have a conversation with a bass player, a piano player, singer, any other instrument that's on the stage, make my contribution to the conversation. A balance of the work needed to arrive at, oh man, this is fun doing this.
Right. I'm having fun, but I'm not sure it's fun for others when I'm playing with them.
Right.
But hopefully putting in the work, like you say, it'll get there. When you encounter a particularly difficult rhythm, you're having problems with or whatnot, how do you go about solving that issue?
Well, I know, take it apart, maybe limb by limb in my case. A classic circumstance for me was learning Afro-Cuban rhythms.
Okay.
To do that, I needed to take apart the individual rhythms, the clave.
Okay.
And then take apart, for instance, the conga section. And put in the cascade. Trust me, when I first learned this, it was really difficult. It was the brain work, the left brain, right brain, limb stuff, to orchestrate that into the drum set feeling of that Afro-Cuban son clave stuff. So take it apart one by one, get it, internalize it, and then add the next thing, and put the two together, and then internalize those things, and ultimately arrive at a thing where you have the ultimate thing you wanted to deliver to the music, and that is this.
Great, yeah, I heard, I think it was John Wooten that said, similar where he said, break it down, slow it down, so that you can throw it down. All right, and while you were learning rhythm, have you ever used any vocalization methods to help yourself, to help?
Not really. I would say, however, though, if you got in a room with me and just sat against the wall like a fly on the wall and just watched what I do, I would say I probably had that Keith Jarrett guttural approach to what I do. I get guttural when I'm throwing things, moving things. If anyone's familiar with Keith Jarrett's famous audible beautiful noises he makes as he plays. So yeah, that would be the vocalizations that I, do sitting out here.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people kind of it's almost like beatboxing. And I started trying to learn myself.
I do. Methods. I would say just walking around on the street, I'll do that. I do a lot of tongue stuff.
Yeah, and you can pick up a lot just by walking around in life. Life is rhythm. It's everywhere. Rhythm is everywhere. And can you tell us? You mentioned about the rudiments a bit earlier. The importance of practicing rudiments on the drums.
Well, the rudiments as to the drummer would be what scales are to any other instrumentalists out there. Your bass player, your saxophone player, everyone's running through the permutations of your C scales, your G scales, whatever. The drummer is working through permutations of rudiments from everything from single stroke, permutations and variations on paradiddles, flams, doubles, 6-stroke rolls, 7-stroke rolls, 5-stroke rolls, everything that ultimately the drummer needs to interpret either of what the composer, for instance, has composed on a piece of paper to what I would want to contribute to the metaphorical conversation on the stage with other players. My voice, my vocabulary, I guess that's what that would really be. The vocabulary I contribute to the conversation that we're having on the stage. Right.
Okay. Good. And I suppose the final question: do you have any advice for a beginning or a beginner bass player who is trying to learn rhythm and find the groove?
Well, the ultimate thing I would say to just anyone really, bass player, drummer, piano player, certainly sit in your room, go through your chops, do your thing. But the ultimate real school and lessons is getting on stage, get yourself on stage, plug in, play, get yelled at a couple of times. You'll have your piano player or your drummer or whoever look over to you, and you'll get that look. You'll know you're screwing up, but then you walk off with that. Okay, I did something there, and then you go back and you fix it. So the next time you're on that stage, you don't get yelled at anymore.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Thank you very much, Curtis, for joining us.
Sure.
Hopefully, soon we can practice together and have a part 2 for this video.
Sure. Happy that could have helped.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Press that back on. Yeah.